Thou art the glory of Jerusalem. Thou art the joy of Israel. Thou art the highest honour of our race. If you have never read the book of Judith in the Old Testament from start to finish, then I urge you to do so. It is an astonishing tale of virtue and heroism, of righteousness before God, and of the triumph of God's will in defence of his chosen people against the forces of evil. Judith is a widow of great beauty, virtue, and holiness of life, who keeps to her private chamber in the upper part of her house, where she contemplates God and the things of God. When Judith hears that her countrymen are about to deliver themselves up to their enemy in the face of overwhelming odds, she gives herself up to a time of extraordinary fasting and prayer, and begs God to fortify her for a great undertaking. Approaching the enemy camp under the command of their general Holofernes, Judith draws upon her virtue and the strength of Almighty God to behead Holofernes, whose army, when they hear of their leader's death, flees. Judith returns to her people in triumph and is hailed as the glory of Jerusalem, the joy of Israel, and the highest honour of their race. Judith, of course, is seen as a type, a model of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and these acclamations of the people of Israel are turned by the Church into one of the antiphons for Vespers on the feast of the Immaculate Conception of Our Lady. Like Judith, but of course much more so, Our Blessed Lady is truly a woman of unparalleled beauty, of incomparable virtue, and of unequalled holiness of life, being as she is, filled with God's grace from the moment of her conception in her mother's womb. Like Judith, but again much more so, Our Lady ponders God and the things of God in her heart, as St. Luke tells us not once but twice in his Gospel. And, especially in the days following her Son's ascension back into heaven, she spends much time in prayer in the privacy of an upper room. Judith, having called upon the strength of God, marches forth to face the enemy, whilst Our Blessed Lady is heralded in the Song of Solomon as she who comes forth as the morning rising, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, terrible as an army set in battle array. Judith strikes at the head of the enemy, just as the second Eve crushes the head of the serpent with her heel. And finally, Judith returns to her people in triumph, having, through humility and a profound faith, and an absolute trust in the goodness of God, conquered her people's enemy. So it is with the Blessed Virgin Mary, whose sinless heart and depth of faith triumphs over Satan's pride through her humility, and over his deceit through her integrity. The devil is cursed and thrown from heaven by St. Michael, whereas Our Lady is called blessed by all generations and is assumed into heaven, where she is crowned Queen and Mother of all the living. The book of Judith draws to a close by reminding us that the widow Judith took no further husband to herself, but lived out the remainder of her days in a life of chastity and of piety, hidden from the eyes of the populace, but that on festival days she came forth with great glory. And the book concludes with the words, "And all the time of her life there was none that troubled Israel." So it is with the Holy Mother of God. Those who place their trust in her need have no fear, whatever assails them from the world without. For as the hymn we have just sung tells us, she is mighty to deliver. Call her, trust her lovingly. When the tempest rages round thee, she will calm the troubled sea. And as St. Bernard's prayer tells us, Remember, O most loving Virgin Mary, that it is a thing unheard of, that anyone ever had recourse to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thy intercession, and was left forsaken. For you, our Mother and our Queen, surpass in beauty and holiness even Judith, whose name means to praise and to thank the Lord. In your goodness, to we sinners, your children on earth, truly, thou art the glory of Jerusalem, thou art the joy of Israel, thou art the highest honour of our race.
Remember, O most loving Virgin Mary, that it is a thing unheard of that anyone ever had recourse to thy protection, sought thy intercession, implored thy help, and was left forsaken. Filled therefore with confidence in thee, I fly to thee, O Mother, Virgin of Virgins. To thee I come, before thee I stand, a sorrowful sinner. Despise not my words, O Mother of the Word, but graciously hear and grant my prayer. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
We fly to thy protection, O Holy Mother of God. Despise not our petitions and our necessities, but deliver us from all dangers, O ever glorious and blessed Virgin. Lord God, thou hast given the Blessed Virgin Mary to thy church as a beacon of unfailing hope. In thy goodness grant that those for whom life is a burden may find in her consolation and strength, and those who despair of salvation may find their hearts warmed and uplifted as they turn to her in their need. Through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Regina Caeli, Deus, qui per resurrectionem Filii Tui Domini nostri Iesu Christi mundum letificare dignatus es, prestaque subus, ut per eius genetricem Virginem Mariam, perpetue capiamus gaudia vitae, per iundum Christum Dominum nostrum. Amen.
Amen. Amen.